The sun dipped low over Lake Vyew Haven, casting golden ripples across the water as I stood on my weathered dock, a cold drink in hand, and a defiant grin tugging at my lips. From the shore, a cluster of neighbors shot me icy glares, their murmurs barely audible but thick with resentment. They were stranded, unable to fish during their cherished annual festival, a 40-year tradition I'd unintentionally derailed. To them, I was the VY lane who'd shattered their summer ritual. But before you judge me, let me ask, have you ever faced a power-hungry group trying to strip away something you love? If so, my story might hit closer to home than you think. My name is Nathan Harper, a remote software developer tired of city noise and endless deadlines. My wife, Lily, and I bought this lakeside retreat after her grandfather passed, inheriting a sturdy house and a dock he'd built by hand in the 1960s. That dock wasn't just wood and nails, it was a tapestry of memories. Lily's dad learning to fish as a boy, family barbecues under the stars, quiet mornings with a rod and reel. We dreamed of preserving that legacy, of lazy weekends by the water, bay sleeping beneath the boards, and a peace no urban loft could offer. Lake Vyew Haven seemed perfect, with its VY brand community and a fishing festival that drew crowds from miles away. But I hadn't counted on the HOA or its iron-fisted leader, Margaret Voss. At first, the neighborhood felt like paradise. Neighbors dropped by with welcome baskets, sharing tips on the best fishing spots and raving about the festival's tournaments, food stalls, and live music. Tom Delaney, a retired firefighter with a warm handshake, called it heaven on earth, especially during the festival. Lily and I were thrilled, ready to weave our own traditions into this idyllic setting. I set up my office overlooking the lake, sneaking glances at the water between coding sessions, often ending my day with a line cast from the dock, a beer in hand, and birdsong in the air. Life was good until a crisp envelope from the HOA shattered the calm. The letter declared my dock non-compliant with new architectural rules and demanded its removal within 30 days. Confusion hit me first, then anger. This dock had stood for decades, weathering storms and changing times. How could it suddenly violate rules written long after it was built? I called the number listed and was met with the clipped voice of Margaret Voss, HOA president, her tone dripping with authority. I poured out the dock's history, how Lily's grandfather had crafted it, how it predated the HOA by 30 years. Margaret was unmoved. The property changed hands, she said coolly. Grandfathered structures are now subject to compliance. I pleaded for an exception, but she cut me off with a mocking chuckle. Sentiment doesn't override guidelines, Mr. Harper. Take photos for nostalgia, then tear it down. Her condescension set my blood boiling, but I kept my voice steady. I'll review the regulations and state property law, I shot back. She sighed, as if I were a child wasting her time, and hung up. That night, as I dragged trash bins to the curb, I overheard Margaret talking to another board member, James Holt. That dock blocks my VYEW, she hissed. It'll interfere with the new pier for the festival. James nodded, oblivious to my eavesdropping. The truth hit me like a slap. This wasn't about rules. It was personal. They saw us as newcomers, easy prey to bully into submission. I wasn't about to let them erase Lily's family history. The next morning, I dove into research, scouring HOA bylaws, state property laws, and public records. I confirmed the dock's 1960s permit, predating the HOA's existence. Lily found me hunched over my laptop, tabs open to zoning codes and legal forums. Don't let them ruin this, she whispered, her hand on my shoulder. Her words fueled me. The fishing festival loomed, a community cornerstone that packed the lake with anglers, vendors, and families. I suspected the HOA wanted my dock gone to make way for a glitzy new pier, one that would boost Margaret's property value and her ego. If they thought I'd roll over, they were dead wrong. I reached out to George Mitchell, a retired lawyer whose bright red house had once irked the HOA. Over coffee spiked with bourbon, he grinned. Margaret's a tyrant. If you fight, I'll show you how. We pored over documents, confirming the dock's legal protection under riparian rights, which safeguard access to water for long-standing structures. George helped me draft a letter citing state codes and the dock's history, sent to the HOA with him CC'd. Days later, a summons arrived for an emergency meeting to address my violation. I walked into the community center armed with a notebook of legal notes, facing a packed room buzzing with gossip. Margaret presided like a queen, flanked by board members, including James Holt. She painted me as a reckless newcomer defying reasonable rules, calling the dock an eyesore and hazard. I countered calmly, presenting evidence that the dock predated the HOA and was exempt. A few neighbors nodded, but most stayed silent, wary of Margaret's influence. Unfazed, she pivoted. "The walkway to his dock crosses common land," she declared, unveiling a map highlighting a narrow strip by my property. "For safety, we'll fence it off." The board voted, passing the motion with only Tom Delaney abstaining. A triumphant smirk curled Margaret's lips as she adjourned the meeting. Fury surged through me. The next day, workers hammered a metal fence across the path, blocking my dock. Margaret watched, arms crossed, smug as ever. I fired off a complaint to the county, alleging the HOA's overreach. Then I dug deeper, uncovering Margaret's push for a new pier conveniently positioned to enhance her lake VYEW. A break came when county official Sarah Logan reviewed my case. Spreading out maps, she revealed that much of the shoreline fell under state jurisdiction, managed by the Department of Natural Resources, DNR. If my dock touched state waters, the HOA had no power to block it. She urged me to explore environmental angles. Inspired, I researched the lake's ecology, stumbling on reports of bass spawning near the shore. If my dock sat in a breeding zone, state regulations could halt HOA plans. I tracked down Dr. Emily Carter, a local biologist who had studied freshwater ecosystems. Initially skeptical, she grew intrigued when I described the fish activity tied by my dock. On a chilly morning, we waded into the lake, navigating around the fence in wetsuits. Underwater, Emily spotted gravel beds and plant clusters, classic bass nesting sites. She snapped photos, took samples, and noted ideal water conditions. As we surfaced, I caught James Holt watching us, his suspicion palpable. Emily's excitement was contagious. "This is a critical spawning ground," she said. "The state could restrict construction here." She agreed to submit a report to the DNR. Meanwhile, I learned Margaret had a history of favoritism, awarding contracts to cronies and ignoring rules for allies. Her pier project reeked of self-interest. Soon, the DNR responded, halting all shoreline projects, including the HOA's pier, pending an environmental review. With the festival weeks away, whispers spread that fishing zones might be restricted, threatening the event. Margaret pounced, calling another meeting to pin the blame on me. She accused me of sabotaging the festival, rallying angry residents who saw me as a selfish outsider. But the DNR's representative clarified that the HOA's unpermitted pier plans triggered the restrictions. A veteran angler, Frank Larson, spoke up, warning that damaging spawning grounds would tank future fish stocks. Margaret doubled down, pushing for DULA 500 daily fines and banning me from community amenities. Some board members hesitated, but her grip held until cracks appeared. Neighbors uncovered her shady deals, and my forum post explaining the spawning ground's importance gained traction. Emily backed me, swaying opinions. At a packed meeting, tensions boiled over. Margaret ranted, but Tom Delaney stood, exposing emails pro-vying the pier's location favored select properties. Another neighbor, Clara Evans, revealed the HOA skipped environmental reviews to rush the project. The crowd turned. A board member, Harold Kane, called for a vote to oust Margaret. Despite her protests, the motion passed. She was replaced by Rachel Moore, a fair-minded leader. Margaret retaliated with a DULA 750,000 lawsuit against me, the DNR, and the new board, alleging sabotage and defamation. Fear gripped Lily, but George assured us the case was flimsy. In court, Judge Laura Bennett, a known environmental advocate, saw through Margaret's claims. George presented Revy Dinke, the dock's legal status, the HOA's illegal fence, and their environmental negligence. The judge dismissed the suit, slamming Margaret for abusing the legal system, and referred her shady deals to the county ethics board. Defeated, she slunk out, her allies dwindling. The fence came down, and the HOA apologized. I offered my dock for festival use, with DNR-approved limits. The event went on, scaled back but VY brand, with protected zones ensuring fish safety. Lake Vyew Haven emerged stronger. The HOA adopted transparent rules, and neighbors found their courage. My dock still stands, a testament to Lily's grandfather and our fight. The festival now includes conservation booths, teaching kids to protect the lake. One person's stand can shift a community, and I hope my saga inspires you. If an HOA or any bully threatens what's yours, dig into your rights, rally allies, and hold fast. The water still laps against my dock, a reminder that persistence can topple even the mightiest tyrants. So, what's your story? Are you ready to fight for what matters?